Hello, I am Zoomy, an intelligent process automation bot for immigration teams. I am also the very first virtual assistant of the immigration industry.
Hello, and thank you for joining INSZoom webinar. This is Arun from INSZoom. We would be talking today about the client information, looking at prospects and how the document automation is done. So before we start with the webinar, a few ground rules. Some of you might have joined our webinar before, so you know that you're all on mute. And the reason why we do that is because we have close to 100 participants joining for these webinars. So if you do have any questions, you would find the option to add questions on the right. Some of you have already done that in the beginning. That's good. So you don't have to wait till we complete the session. As and when we go through different topics, you can add your questions, and we will give some time towards the end of the session to answer your questions. And if you're not able to address your questions, we will surely email you with the response. What we also have in this webinar is poll questions. So as and when we're going through each topic, we will have some poll questions. So for two reasons. One, to see how you would utilize those features. And number two is to make sure you're engaged with the session. So I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll question just to see, if you know how to answer those questions. And then we're going to give you some time. So I'm going to give you, let's say, 30 seconds and see if you can answer this question. This question specifically I've added because now we all are working from home, most of us. So I'm sure you missed something from office. All right, very good. A lot of people voted. That is good. And some of you, if you have challenge answering these poll questions, it could be your browser that is, holding on to selecting the options. And I do apologize. That's a common error that we get to see. But then, yes, I see almost 80% answer the question. That's really good. And I agree. Most of you have answered that you miss your whole desk setup. Yes. All right, I'm going to stop the poll question now. Excellent. So moving forward, again, this is the agenda that we have for today. We will be talking about the prospective client intake. We'll also be looking at the retainer agreement, which would be part of the prospective module. We'll also look at sending emails using templates, which would be an added function and leads to automation as well. We'll also talk about the docs checklist, how to email that out to your clients, and then, of course, the whole document management itself. So before we start, here's the lineup for today. That's me, Arun. I'm part of the customer success group. I've been with INSZoom for 6 years and did most of training and managed the support team. I currently focus more on our existing clients with adoption. Next, we have Christopher. Christopher, over to you.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Christopher. I have around 13 years of experience and I come with a background in governance, risk, and compliance. That sounds fancy, but essentially what that means is I know how important it is to keep your data, your documents, all your information extremely secure. In INSZoom, I am focused on implementation and onboarding for our customers through digital adoption. So all our learning content and things like that, I help create, my team help create, and we are committed to making sure that you can use INSZoom solution to its maximum and its best for you and your organization. Next, we have Shadow. Shadow, over to you.
Oh, hi everyone. My name is Shadow Lopez, and I am part of the INSZoom Expert Services, as well as the team lead for best practices. I have been using INSZoom since 2002 as an administrator for 3 different law firms, and I have helped attorneys and case managers on how they can effectively manage their cases and also how they can maximize INSZoom's capability. So I hope you all are having a nice day. Good news for immigration. No, we won DACA, so good job, dreamers. Okay, let me start with today's discussion. Many of us, like offices and law firms, are beginning to reopen. And as such, they should be able to respond to a lot of changes in a sensible manner. Many are having issues like employees who are hesitant to return to the office. Some really are scared to return. There is public health concerns, and right now, all of us, our favorite hobby these days, social distancing. So firms and attorneys are trying to be cautious, and they want to implement new operating procedures while employees return to their new normal, administrative tasks that we were all so much used to doing within our office, within the workplace. Now we have to re-examine those. We hope, after this webinar, you will learn more on data management, how easy really and simple to use. Like I always, if you've attended some of my previous webinars, I'm not the computer guru, but INSZoom is really simple and easy once you learn how to adapt to it. It's also cost effective, and most importantly, right now in our situation, it will ensure your staff that they can access client data or documents, whenever or wherever they need it. So we also hope you can walk away with an understanding of, how important document management is to our new normal of working remotely. We want to show you how you can get started and become highly efficient, hopefully work sharper by using INSZoom, and will help you from the time your prospect makes that first call up to the time you get their case approved. So moving on to the next slide. Arun, if you can help me. Okay, the client intake. This is maybe my favorite part of case management because this is the first time you're meeting the clients. How can we incorporate client intake or your consult sheets in INSZoom prospect module? The consultation sheet, or I think other firms call it intake form, is a tool to obtain correct and current information from a client that you need to represent, or from an existing client that needs help with a new case or a new matter. The intake process is your only chance to introduce your services, and get everything you need to start the client's petition. So it's better if you do it right for the first time. So when doing intake and the moment you begin to communicate with your client, you should be able to cover everything you need to know about them. Um, to communicate with prospects these days, it's somewhat difficult because we're now limited to email and phone calls and in-person meetings, which made things a lot easier, in my opinion, in the past because you get to see clients face to face. You can collect their data, their paperwork right there in your office. Obviously, now it's discouraged. So there are several steps to complete the intake, as you can see on the screen. The initial contact through phone or email, or when your client makes the first move after they see your ads or your website, they saw you on Google, they call you. And then you schedule their appointment. After that initial contact, you try to get as much information. You schedule their appointment and make sure there is an attorney to do the consult. These days, our attorneys are probably helping with homeschooling their kids, their children. So we need to make sure we have access to everyone's calendar. And then we check for conflicts. Sometimes it's a very complicated matter, and the attorney would need to research first before they can talk to the client. So you want to store that information. You want to have, you want to note it down. And then payments, if you need, if your office charges consultation fee, you need to store payment information, or you also need to record that they paid for the consult. And then filling up the intake sheet. You make sure that the person doing the contract or preparing the contract will have access to the client's information that you previously collected. And then number 6, uploading client documents if necessary, if the attorney wants to see a denial letter or RFEs or whatever they need to see before talking to the client. And then finally, doing the actual consultations. Attorneys often write their notes, so that we want to make sure that those attorney notes are accessible to everyone in your firm and can be communicated. Because in my many years, I have realized the value of client intake. Attorneys and paralegals do get to know their clients well, and they can come up with the best way to represent them by gathering accurate and complete data. At the same time, being able to store that data and later on being able to accept them as client, it does save time, and it will, when they start working on the case, they don't have to have too many requirements. It will require them to just have minimal effort in gathering the documents they need. So keeping a record of the client intake containing notes of the attorneys, as I previously mentioned, that the clients have disclosed to the attorney or the case team, can also be your check and balance in case issues arise while they work on the case. So let me pass the control to Arun so he can show us how you can incorporate your intake sheets to INSZoom and how everyone in your firm can have access while working remotely. Arun?
Sure, thank you, Shada. That's a good insight about the whole prospect module. So I will be more than happy to show you how this can be tracked through Zoom. So right now you're looking at a Zoom platform, the homepage, my Zoom board. Just to give a heads up, the prospect module is available on the left menu. So if you don't have access to it, either you have to ask your super user admin to give you access, or you're using an edition which is below professional edition. Now, once you get onto the prospect module section, you would notice that you're directed directly to the prospect individual. But just keep in mind, you can track both the leads, which is employer, as well as an individual, for which you might be doing a family-based case. So I'm going to take an example of an individual, but before we move on to that, since we were discussing more of using an intake sheet in INSZoom, some of you might have tried this before, but decided not to move forward because the first time when you try our prospect module, you would see our registration page. And our registration page have, I believe, around 6 to 7 or 10 questions. What I'm done right now is that I've replaced our registration page with an intake sheet. So what I'm trying to say is that if you are currently using an intake sheet and you want to replicate that in INZoom, you can use our questionnaire and create that intake sheet in INZoom and replace our registration page with the intake sheet. So if you decided not to use the prospect module because of this, I just want you to know that you can replace the registration page. And if you need assistance, reach out to our support, or you can reach out to me at csm@INSZoom.com. And then, like I said, you can create questions. So you can have 5, 6, 10 question choice of yours. So here's an example of an intake sheet that I've created. So let's say I'm creating a prospect or a read. And then it's going to list out the remaining questions, which is nothing but the questionnaire itself that I've created based on the questions I want to answer. So again, these are customized by me. You can do the same. All right, so that's what I got. First is the personal information. Obviously, I want to collect the address detail as well during the lead generation. It's always good to do that. So you collect the details. Just going to randomly put something. So you can see that this information would populate into the database, and you don't have to type the same information again. Of course, don't miss out the phone numbers. If they don't reach out to you, you can always reach out to them to check what's going on. And then once you click on save, that's it. That creates the profile of the prospect. So we have the profile of Chris available right now in INSZoom. So if I close this, you would notice that Chris is one of the prospect or a lead added into INSZoom. So before I pass on the deck to Shadow, I also want to let you know that it's not only that you have to track each prospect in INSZoom, your clients or your prospect can do the same as well. What I'm trying to say is that now that we all are remotely working, and most of the prospects might be surfing through different websites to reach out to different law firm, you can actually go ahead and embed a link to your website, which will direct them to the intake sheet. So your prospects can click on that link and go ahead and complete the questionnaire, which means they are creating their own profile in INSZoom. And it's very simple. You don't even have to reach out to us for this. When you go to prospects, go to, let's say, for example, you want to set up a link for the individual. So you click on individual under the setup, and you can generate the link right over here. So if I go ahead and put this link to my website, and if a prospect clicks on that link, this is what he or she will get to see, which is nothing but the intake sheet that I have created. And now again, keep in mind, you can have a separate intake sheet for a prospect compared to what you're using to track prospects. So you do have that option. Now, if you don't know how to customize questionnaire, we did have a webinar last week. Or prior to that on the questionnaires. So if you need the video recording of that, we will send that to you. Just put that into the question section so we know who all need it, so we can send that to you. So you watch that video on how to create a questionnaire, which is nothing but creating an intake sheet that you can link to the registration page. At the same time, create another intake sheet that you can link to the website. All right, so that's it about the client intake sheet. I'm going to pass the deck back to Shadow, but before we do that, we do have one poll question for you all. So let's see, the question launched for you all. Okay, the question is, what are you currently using to track leads or prospects? Wow, most of our attendees today is using INSZoom. All right, that's good. That's good. Some of you thinking about it, that's even good. If you're thinking about it, that is awesome. So if you have any additional questions, you need our help to set up, feel free to call us. Email csm@INSZoom.com. I'll try to connect with you, share some tips on how to track an INSZoom. It's a really cool function. If you ever have to check on your leads in terms of how many are on high conversion versus mid and low, you get to see that as well. So this is really good. Let's give some more time, another 10 seconds for the remaining attendees to answer. Also, I see very few, which is not bad, use a different software to track prospects. So I just want to let you know that if you prefer to have an integration with INSZoom and the software that you're using, you can connect with me so I can share some options in terms of integration as well. So you don't have to manually input the leads into INSZoom, or if they become a client, you don't have to manually add their profile in INSZoom. We can do that for you through integration. So the remaining who are not required to track, that's perfect. You might have a different game plan, but then if you need help, that's just let me know. So thank you everyone for answering the poll question. I'm going to pass the deck back to Shadow to talk about the retainer.
Oh, thanks, Arun. Okay, so we now proceed to preparing and sending the retainer agreements. Now you are done with your consultation. The attorneys are done talking to the client, and he knows exactly what he needs to do to represent the client. Of course, we don't want to lose that momentum, especially that, like I mentioned, face-to-face interaction is kind of missing these days, and you need to be able to send a proposal or retainer agreement right away. Again, it may seem simple, but how timely can you get them to sign and keep their business can be an issue these days. During my early days working at a law firm, I always provided attorneys a list of all types of retainers that has the equivalent description or scope of service, and as well as the corresponding fees. As it makes it easier for them to provide the cost to the client while they have them on the call. So they get the business right there, right away. Um, Fees, I know it's a little bit awkward for discussion with a client, but at the end of the day, it's the biggest part, when clients decide if they will retain you or not. Honestly, it was a lot easier convincing them when you are with them face to face where you're in the office. But now, INSZoom sort of like we have a feature so that we can adopt that practice that I have before of having set of contracts and fees under documents, and added the contracts feature under documents assembly in both prospective and the client module. There are steps when you are preparing or sending your proposed contracts. First, of course, you have to prepare the retainer agreement, and then you have to send it to your client, um, email, or sometimes I know you still have to mail it. Some clients, I understand not everyone would still have email at this day and age. Explanation of the scope of services and fees with the client, which is, I guess, crucial. And the most important part, clients being able to return to you a signed copy of the agreement, and then retaining your services and, of course, paying you. So Arun, will you please show us how contracts are easily generated in INSZoom, please? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, so going back to the INSZoom platform now, this is one of the features most of our clients are currently using since the time we've been working from home. The reason being, keep having to track all the contracts through the INSZoom platform makes it easier, since it's readily available wherever you log in because we're cloud based. But then I did speak to a few clients who prefer not to, because they didn't realize that they can actually have the system auto populate some of the information. So what I'm trying to say is that most of the contracts are like a template that you have. You would mention the description of the case, you would mention the your hourly cost or the flat fee based on the case type, and then of course the few things that would change is the client's name, their address, and whatever that's required in terms of getting that retainer signed. Now, they didn't want to upload thinking that they have to anyways change that and upload it back. So I have to download it, make the changes, upload it back after the signature. So I just want to let you all know that you don't have to do that. We have something called keywords. So anything that's a variable which changes based on requirement, you can use a keyword which will track the information. So an example of a keyword is a name of a prospect. So an example of that would be first underscore name. So you will create a template with the keyword, save that into the INSZoom platform, and whenever you open that document on a specific profile, the keyword will replace with the actual value. And it's very simple to do that, so again, if you need help with that, just let us know how to do that and we'll help you. It's We have list of all the keywords available in the platform, so you just have to put keywords in the documents. So let me quickly show you. Let's go back to the prospect that we created today. So let's say, for example, I go back to the prospect section and then have the prospect individual load up. There you go. Chris Evans is right here. So if you remember in the first, kind of a demo that I showed you, how you can link an intake sheet and update information. So if you look at Chris' profile right now, all these information were tracked through the intake sheet, and it actually updated Chris' profile as a prospect. Now I'm going to go to the contracts right now. So on the left, if you go onto the left menu, you see contracts almost at the bottom to the left menu. So once I click on contracts, you would see that it gives me an option to pick a retainer. So the reason why it's giving me that option is that because I already have this template ready in INSZoom, and you can do the same. You can have multiple templates. So what I would recommend is that have different templates for different case types. So I just created one to showcase how this would work. So if this is a retainer that I want to use, I would just click on use. But if there were more, it would list out over here and you can choose one. If you want to add right one over here itself, you can do that as well if you prefer to. So let's say I got one in my database, I click on use. So now that's got linked to this particular prospect, which is Chris profile. I can go ahead and email this retainer as an attachment, which is kind of an old school, which you could have done through your Outlook itself or whatever the mail service provider that you have. But then I'm not sure if you're aware of this, we do have an integration with DocuSign. So you can actually go ahead and email using DocuSign for the retainer. Now, before you do either of these options, if you want to quickly preview how that retainer looks like, you can just click on preview. And you would notice the keyword I was referring to. So in this retainer, now guys, don't judge the retainer because it's just created by me, and you would have something far much better. So if you see over here, this was more like a keyword that I used, but the system knew that I'm opening this document under Chris, so it auto-populated Chris' name, it auto-populated the address and his number. So, whatever keyword that you put in, it will auto-populate into the document that you want to open in INSZoom, and that goes with any document for that matter. So you see, that's the advantage. Now, if you have this prospect in your office, likely, unlikely, it might still continue to happen that you have leads coming to your office. Then if you're going to print this out, get them signed, and you're going to scan it, I would recommend you to upload that into INSZoom, because then you always have all the documents stored in INSZoom itself. Now, if you are planning to email, so when I click on email, I'm not going to spend more time on this because it's exactly the same email function we have. You draft your message over here, the retainer is automatically attached because I used it from the template section, and then that's it. You send this email as an attachment. The client gets the email, download the document from their email, print it out, sign it, scan it. It's a lot of work, and I think it would be difficult for to do that. So you have the DocuSign option. So let me quickly show you how DocuSign works. I'm not going to go end to end, but if I click on DocuSign, since I have done integration with my DocuSign account, you would notice that this particular retainer would be in the DocuSign for you to select what all information you need. Basically, everything is electronic through DocuSign, right? So you can, under the signature section, you can assign where exactly you want the prospect to sign. You can assign where exactly the name should populate, where exactly the title should populate. So if you see over here, I have Chris Evans. Basically, whatever fields I have over here, I can drag it and drop it over here. So let's say if it's a signature I need of Chris, I'm going to put that under the client section. If I want the name of Chris to auto-populate, I'll put that over there. So I can just go ahead and drag and drop. And then I want, if let's say this is a countersigned by me or an attorney, I can set that up as well. So this is just an example that I want to show you. But then if you create a template, you don't even have to do, the drag and drop thing. It would show as it is set up. So again, one of the functions, one of the automation we have in place. So if you decide to go on e-signature, this will be really helpful. So if you have already thought about this, I'm going to throw out the next poll question to you all. Basically, the question is, have you decided to move to e-signature? So take your time. It's a close-ended question, yes or no. So I'm going to give you all 30 seconds to answer that question. The 10 seconds. All right. So before we move on, I know most of the question. I mean, this is really cool. I mean, almost all of you answer the question, and it's like 50%. So 50% of you have moved to e-signature, and 50% have not. So I'm sure there are various reasons behind it, but then you can give it a try with the e-signatures. We are aware that obviously you can't do e-signature for forms right now, the actual forms. But then, of course, for any contracts, any supporting documents, you can get an e-signature from your clients. So very good. Thank you so much for participating in that poll question. I'm going to go ahead and stop that right now. All right, and then move on to the next topic. We're going to have the option where we're going to talk about the emails using the templates. So Shadow, over to you. Shadow, just letting you know you're on mute if you're speaking.
Sorry about that. I
That's
was
okay.
just so like DocuSign, I actually like it. I've used it even on my phone. And for clients, that would be really convenient for them to return the contract to you. So I would look at it as an investment that will pay for itself. Um, so maybe reach out to any of our CS team, to Arun, and you can find out more about that DocuSign, especially now that, like I said, everyone's working remotely. So that would be an easy way to get the retainers back from your clients. Okay, so moving on to sending emails with templates or attachments to client. A great example would be sending your welcome or introductory letter. We want to show you now how you can start taking care of your clients after they signed up or after they retained your services. So I think this is something that is often overlooked, sending welcome letters to your newly retained clients, or even those you have already done business with and has repeat business. I think this is utterly important these days, as you may be working on scheduled days at your office, and some days are being spent at home. It is good to send this right after you send or accept them as a client in INSZoom. I like to compose my letters by including the name of their case team, the attorney, and the paralegal if you're working on the case, the best time they can reach you, because if you're from home, a lot of factors. Your email addresses, how can they respond or send you documents? I have also been seeing law firms having alternate contact methods these days. Some are changing their phone numbers, or they have temporary contact numbers. So it's best to include that in your letter. You can also say to expect more email from you. Have them add your email address on their address book so your email doesn't go to their junk mail. So all those things, you can be creative in writing your welcome letter, but the goal is to make sure you inform your client, how they can get a hold of you, so you don't get bombarded with so many calls or email asking really simple questions. Like setting a set of rules on how they can easily communicate with you would at least eliminate too many phone calls from your clients. I would even include messages like if they can refer you to their friends and family, as an embedded lead generating tool. So I'm going to pass on the control to Christopher so he can demonstrate how we can do this in INSZoom. Christopher?
All right. Thank you, Shadow, for that. Now, everything Shadow said is absolutely important. Generating your leads, getting your template sorted out to ensure that you actually save a lot of time. The biggest benefit of having everything templatized is the fact that you just make it once. You just make it once. And every time you have a new client coming in, that welcome email can be sent quickly. Instead of you drafting it out completely, you can have your template made with the keywords that Arun was talking about. So each time a new client is onboarded, a new prospect is onboarded, you want to send out this welcome email or whatever kind of email it is, they automatically get all these little bits and chunks of information that Shadow is talking about, the case manager, the address, the client's first name, things like that. So how do we do this? Let's take a quick look. Just give me a second. Arun, do you mind hitting the screen, please? All right. So the first step is actually going to the knowledge base. In your knowledge base is where you can go ahead and actually define your email templates. So if you don't have knowledge base, connect with your team and figure out how to get knowledge base access. From there, you can go ahead and actually select creating a new template. You can provide your template, the details, your messages in the template, you can save it. And once your template has been saved, you can go ahead, work on any case, work on any foreign national, work on any client you have. Select emails. And once the emails have been selected, and you've already seen this, click Compose. And right there, you have the Select Message option. Under the Select Message, you can select the template that we just created, sorry. And the entire message template is now filled with what we just created. All the details have been provided, the keywords, the reference words have been added, and now you can just hit send, and this email is being sent. You make the template once, you create your template once, and you can constantly reuse it. One client after the other, you don't have to waste time creating a new template. Just one template. You can be your welcome template. It can be any kind of template that you want. You know, if it's the adjustment, payment, reminders, whatever else it is, you can have one template and constantly use it, and it saves you a lot of time instead of constantly typing it out, you know, referring different keywords, like you might have to alt tab to see the case number there, their case file. All that you don't need to do. Just put the reference, the keywords, and you're good there. All right. Thanks for that. Shadow, back to you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
wait. Before I get back to Shadow, we have a poll question. Poll time. So the poll question is, how often do you engage your clients or foreign nationals? The options are, I don't have to engage. They ring me often for an update. I email from my INSZoom or my mailbox to keep my client updated. I never thought about it. All right, so those are the options. We'll give you a few seconds to make your selections. It's pretty straightforward. Let's give you 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're done. All right, thank you everyone for that. Now, over to you, Shadow.
All right. So before I move on, I just wanted to emphasize the reason why I kind of implemented that welcome letter is so we can lessen the calls. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. Some clients call you 80 times a day because they think you're the one approving their application. So if you set a message telling them these are the time you can call me, then it sticks to them. So, you know, just plant that seed to them, send that letter out. Just a little tip from me. Okay, going to sending documents checklist. So now you got the welcome letter out. You will now start working on your client's petition or your case. And of course, the first thing, we need to get their documents. In INSZoom, you can create a document checklist. A document checklist can be added onto your knowledge base. I know Christopher showed us the knowledge base earlier. Customized for every corresponding case. This really makes your life easier because you can just send the checklist after you open the case. we can pick and choose what documents. You do not have to keep creating a list, then copying and pasting. And sometimes I've seen paralegals sending an incorrect or incomplete list because they pasted it from an incorrect petition type. So the clients would then submit incorrect documents, and then you have to repeat the whole process. So making a document checklist for each petition type is a good way to start your case management off on the right foot, because on the screen, it will help you keep track of missing requirements that are deadline driven. This is important if they signed up and their deadline is next week. So those things happen in the real law firm. And then two, it ensures you are organized throughout the course of your data and document collection. It also assures your client that you will not skip or forget any important document they need to complete their case, so that they don't come back to you and say, hey, you didn't ask for that. Why are you asking me last minute? And then the document checklist also, it motivates your client to act right away. Like, they have the list in front of them. Okay, I need to submit this back to my case team. And also, more importantly, it makes you more efficient and like saves you time. That's the bottom line. Like, saving you time is good, so you can work on more cases. So Christopher again will show us the documents checklist and how it is added on the knowledge base, as well as how you can send it to your client.
Thank you, Shadow. Yeah, thank you for that, Shadow. So one thing that we all need to remember is having things standardized. So you have a petition, we're working on a petition. Once the document checklist is standardized, you don't need to think about it again. Once the document checklist has been uploaded and created in the knowledge base, you've done it once. Every time you create the petition, or every time you have a new client, a new prospect is being onboarded and they're working on a particular case, you don't need to think. You don't need to think, you don't need to figure out which are the documents that would be required for this petition. You don't need to remember. You've done it once, it's standardized, it saves you time, like Shadow says, and you can constantly bring it up. So Arun, could you just please play the video? So the first step, again, when we're standardizing this, is actually going to your knowledge base again. So again, we're going to our knowledge base, and under our knowledge base, we are actually first going to define a petition. All right. So we're going to go ahead and add a petition. This is here is the petition page. We can create the petition template name, the petition type, what category of petition it comes under. All right. We can select all that good stuff. Sorry, petition category. We can select the category. And once the petition has been created and saved, we can now go ahead, and for this petition, we can now go ahead and create our document checklist items. There are a couple of ways we can do this. We can just go ahead and, add a new document that needs to be added to the checklist. We can provide a description. We can provide a short description, a long description. We can mention if this is mandatory or if it's applicable, who is required, the employee or the organization, corporation, whatever, and boom, there your document item or your document checklist has been added. You can also copy this document checklist from other petitions. You can also copy it from different petitions, things like that. Or if you have a list of documents, document checklist documents already added in the system, you can just click at attach documents. So this saves you time again. When even creating your document checklist, if you have the documents added, this saves you even more time. You can go ahead and select whether it's applicable, optional, or required. You can select all the different documents. If it's required or not required, you can hit none. Once you've added all your documents, once you've made your selection, hit save, and boom, all your documents have been added to the document checklist. Now, let's go ahead and see. In this case, we have a prospect right here, and now we're going to go ahead and add a case to this prospect. When adding a case, I'm selecting the petition type we just created. That petition type has just been selected. We'll just scroll down, and we're just going to add this case. The case is prepared. We scroll down even more, and then at this point, just give it a second. At this point, let's go ahead and send an email. And when we are sending an email, we're going to compose another email. We can provide your message right there. You can choose a message template if you have. And under your advanced options, I'm selecting include document checklist, and I'm selecting the documents I want to include in this checklist. Here in this list, you can see all the different documents that we just created in this petition. You can select all of it, and once you've selected, or you can select whichever is required, you can just hit the send button, and now your document checklist has been sent to your foreign national or your client. It's that simple. Again, I want to stress and emphasize the fact that we are not redoing this all the time. We created once in the knowledge base, we created specific to that petition. Once that's done, we just have to select it from the drop down. Yeah, so that's that. Next, we have a poll question. Arun? The next poll question should be on your screen in a second. All right. I think there's an error here. Arun, wrong poll question. We think we need to change that up. Just give it a second.
That's fine. I guess we'll just go with this. Since it's the document management, we want to collect. I mean, I'd see most of you have answered. That's really good. So we want to see, is this something you like to do in INSZoom? Manage all your documents in INSZoom, which means you need to make sure there's enough space. So would you like to, subscribe for our unlimited storage package, which means you don't have to worry of running out of disk space. So let's give some time, for you to answer. Give another 15 seconds. Oh, very good. Some of you are good with starting the plan, or you might already enrolled in unlimited storage. That's good. Most of you prefer to keep your current document management. So if you do have time, let's connect. Eventually, towards the end of the session, I'll show you the benefit as well, if time permits. But then I would surely like to meet, and if it's a firm policy that it is. But then I just want to let you know that there were situations where we did talk to the IT team or the firm, and they did make the decision to change because it helped the caseworkers the most. So I'm going to stop it over here. Thank you so much for participating. Chris, over to you.
It's actually over to Shadow. Shadow's turn again. Shadow?
Oh, yes, I'm still here. Okay, just to clarify the demo, we use the docs checklist after we accept them as a client in INSZoom. So from prospective, we accept them as a client, and then we send them the documents checklist, because I would discourage sending the documents checklist before they sign up, because otherwise they might just do the case themselves. But thank you for that demo, Christopher, very insightful. Moving on to uploading documents and unlimited storage. Gone are the days when, again, clients come to your office and they submit their documents, or getting your mail every day and start working on your caseload right away. We don't have that luxury anymore, like kind of not have that anymore, because these days you probably have someone scanning mail to you, or maybe you go to the office on schedule, like once a week, twice a week to pick up your mail. Lately, I've been getting a lot of calls from my immigration lawyer friends. Ever since COVID started, over the past few months, they asked me, hey, Shadow, like, how can my clients easily send me their documents, or how can they easily, how can my staff get client documents when they're at home? A lot of us, like a lot of the law firms that I've worked with in the past, they usually have different ways or different locations of storing their document and data. First, on-premise based locations, or their data is stored in their company server. Your S drive, your L drive, XYZ drive, accessible when you're in the office, within your office network. So that kind of changed these days. And I know a lot of them are struggling. So there are also offices right now using Go to My PC or other similar remote PC software, so they can connect to their office computer and then from there access their client data. Some even have to email it to their personal email just so they can get it. So it gets really complicated just so you can get it. And then there are also third-party cloud storage. You know, some use OneDrive, Google Drive, but I have seen clients struggle uploading documents to these because of, you know, different reasons, browsers, or some of them don't have Google accounts or they don't have OneDrive, they don't know how to start. And then there's that you have to instruct them, it takes longer and it delays your job, your work. And then some attorneys have it on their personal laptops or their little storage devices, even some have it on their cell phones or their tablets, which is, you know, at the end of the day, all of these practices, even like having your clients email you the documents as attachments, those are not really secure and compliant enough. You have to be careful. Like these days, there are so many laws and rules governing like client doc or handling and storing client information. So we have to make sure that we have something in place. INZoom has a tool where, you know, clients can upload their documents in a safe, you know, and secure way that they can use any browser. Case managers can also use it to upload any file straight to the client profile. You don't need to spend a lot of time looking and retrieving client documents if it's, I don't know, in your son's laptop or you saved it in your phone. You do not get into trouble of finding documents in multiple places because they already get linked to your client's case in one central location. So that makes it really so easy. And aside from being able to upload documents, again, this is a good investment. INZoom has unlimited storage, so you can store all your client documents right there in INZoom, and you can just access it even when you're in, I don't know, vacationing somewhere, if you can go on vacation. Okay, back to you, Christopher, so you can show us how it's done.
Thank you, Shadow. Uploading documents, everything that Shadow said, right? It's going to make life a lot easier right now. In INZoom, we have a few different ways of uploading documents. Arun, please play the video. All right. So right now here at the client level and the case level, you can go ahead and under document assembly, you can select docs and document checklist. And here you can see the entire document checklist right here. From here, you can just, go ahead and use the upload file button to upload the relevant file. And here you can see it's based on the checklist that we just created. So based on the checklist that we created, you can upload a particular file, a particular document relevant to that checklist. And you can just go ahead, select it from your system and your browser. You can select it. And once it's selected, once it's uploaded, it's right there. You can see file uploaded successfully. Once the file is uploaded, you can go ahead and accept the file as well. So right now you can see the file is in review. And now after reviewing the file, you can say document has been accepted. So now the document is available in the client's profile, the case profile. Another popular way of doing it is actually sending a to-do. So in this case, I've assigned to-do, I've assigned it to the client, I've selected the case, and I've selected questionnaires and document checklists. Here, once again, I can assign it to a client, or I can assign it to a corporation user also, by the way. It doesn't just have to be the client. I've selected that, I've selected the client, I've selected the case, I've selected all that. Once again, going back to the document checklist, and under the document checklist, all the documents will be available here. You can pick and choose which document specifically you want your client to upload. So if you want them to upload all of it, you can just select all of it, the entire checklist goes to them. If not, you want them to select something particular, you can adjust that and ensure that they select only those particular ones. They upload only those selected ones. Once the to-do has been assigned, it's there in your list. The client logs into their foreign national profile, and from there, they see the to-do right there. All right. They select the to-do and they open the document checklist. They see all the documents right there, which is required. They select it, they click, upload their files. They can click and drag also, or they can click and upload it right there. Once the file has been uploaded, they can use attach, and the document has now been uploaded. Once a foreign national or your client has done it, they can hit done. The progress bar tells them how much of the checklist has been complete. So they uploaded one document, boom, they're at 25%. They got a bit more to go, but you know they're making progress. They have uploaded a particular document. This method that we just did using the to-do, it can be done by the corporation user as well. It's the same steps, it's the same thing. You can select the client, you can select the case, you can select that. But under the to-do, instead of selecting the foreign national, we're just selecting the corporation user here. The steps remain the same. They can go to the corporation portal and upload the documents right there, yeah, from the checklist, whatever else. Now, the corporation portal has one more item that the corporation user can do. The corporation user can actually upload digital documents regarding the corporation. So under the corporation, under this thing, digital documents, they can go ahead, click and add files and upload documents that are relevant and that are specific to the corporation we're working for. This is specific in cases for employment-based cases. So you need documentation regarding the employer. This is how the corporation user can upload them and send it to you, the case manager, in a very, very easy manner. So the documents are now uploaded. They're available right there. And your corporation documents are now available for you to use in your petition. Yeah. So that's that. Time for a poll question. Poll time. The poll question is, do you need to access the foreign national documents when preparing forms? Do you need to access your foreign nationals documents when you're preparing forms? Yes or no? Sometimes, no, yes. We'll give you guys 15 seconds to put this up. 10 seconds. Yeah, final 5 seconds. I hope you guys have made your selections. And we are done. All right. So thank you for that. Moving on, Arun, back to you.
Sure. Thank you, Christopher. That was really cool. You were able to show how to upload documents in 3 different portals. One is the case manager, then the foreign national portal for the employee, and then the corporation portal for the corporate client. And so you can see that, I believe one of the questions that usually come up is, do I have to send an email or can I do to do? So you have both the options, but my take is always the to do. It's something new that we introduced quite some time back, but I love that feature because
So
it's
easier, right?
far much
Instead of
exactly.
getting instead of getting an email and then sending that out, because then it gets a lot. Now just to do, it's very, very quick. You can just send it quickly. They know specifically what they need to do. You can put your instructions. I'm a big fan of the to do.
Yeah.
Correct.
It
So
encourages like action, like they have to
Yeah,
take action right away.
So
absolutely.
just before we move on, the one of the reason why I asked this question, do you need to access your clients for, documents while working on forms? I mean, 90% said yes, which is absolutely the case, and some of you said no. Obviously, based on the type of cases, you may or may not have to, but again, most majority do. So if you're looking at my screen right now back in INSZoom, this is our new case forms page. I don't know if you already started navigating through. So you have the classic view and then you have the new forms. You can toggle between both. And then you would notice that if you go to any forms that you open, and access while working on a specific form, you can review the documents as well. in the form itself. So in the past, you had to get out of the form, get back to the document and review it. But now, while I'm working on the I-129 form as an example, I can click on documents and it will list out all the documents that was uploaded. Sorry, I don't have a perfect example with all the documents showing, but you can see that I didn't have to get out of the forms. I can review it in the form itself so I can get the answers that I'm looking for. So you are in the same page itself. Now we do have some proof of concept going on. We're trying to see if we can zoom into the document so you can see the details clearly. So there's a lot of things put in over here to make it work efficiently. So, but from this, you can see that having documents managed in INSZoom was going to help you to process cases as well. So yeah, so I just want to highlight that part. Thank you so much. Now we're going to spend the last few minutes going through the questions. So let's see what we have here. Let me just go ahead and just make sure we are looking at questions. Exactly, there you go. All right, so let's see. The first question is how to add the retainer template to the system. All right, very good. So the retainer template, the email template, all are configured in the knowledge base. That's what Chris was taking you through, the knowledge base section in INSZoom. So if you don't have access to knowledge base, just talk to the administrator at your firm. So if you go to the knowledge base, you will get to see an option on the left, which is contract. So let's go there. If you look at my screen now, you will find contract onto the left. So you see the contract templates. So just go there, upload the document, but please keep in mind your task is not to upload the contract first that you already have right now. Your first task is to use the keywords. So this is what we are referring to. This goes with email templates as well. Use the keywords to to replace all the variables, and those keywords will track the information. So if I open this retainer right now that you saw in the beginning, you would notice that it has no name in it. It has no address in it. So you see that it is a keyword. But when I open this retainer in the prospect page, it actually pulled the client's first name, last name, and the address as well. So that goes with the email templates. And again, keep in mind, though our example today was more focused towards the welcome email, we want to let you know that as in when you're engaging with your clients, so most of you engage through sending emails, you can have templates ready. Again, don't worry, even though a template is set up, before you send the email, you do have the option to change anything within the template before sending it. So you're not forced to use the template as it is. So I hope that answers the question. Moving on to the next one. All right. Okay, this is a big one. At the firm where I work, most of our clients are family based and many of them are not familiar with technology. How can INSZoom simplify things for them when receiving documents? Shadow, do you want to give an
Yeah.
insight
So
on the
the way I addressed that before, that's where your welcome letters will come in, or you can make, in your welcome letter or your template, simple instructions for them. Either you can print it if they don't have email, and that gets a, you can get that from their profile. You can put like, I would go to the extremes of helping them even create their own email address for some clients so that you can exchange information by email. I've done that in the past, but I would have a template giving simple instructions with them how they can return to you with your complete information, contact information, so clients don't panic. That's how I've dealt with these type of clients in the past. And I've done where I came from, work for 15 years, we had a lot of those clients because they were also working family based. So that little thing, the welcome email for those type of clients that I also generate from the INSZoom templates, that even has other information like what do they do, like for deport cases, like who they need to call and all of that information. So yeah, the templates really come in handy.
Awesome, thank you, Shadow. Let's see how we doing with time. Okay, let's take one last question. All right, which is the best practice for gathering documents, using email through INSZoom or assigning to do for the portal, which has an option to upload documents against a checklist for the case? Chris, you want to take this? Do you recommend a best practice for sending email for document checklist or to do for document checklist?
I would always recommend the to-do. The reason being, the to-do makes it even more secure. When you're assigning a to-do, it goes to the portal. So when the person or your client or foreign national is uploading the document, they're uploading it in the portal itself. This makes it a lot more secure. This keeps it nice and tight. For them to have access to the portal, they need to create a username and password. They just can't, just go there and start doing it. So that keeps all their information, that keeps all their data, all their documents. And these are critical, safe, confidential documents. This keeps it safe and secure right there in the portal access. And you can just get it from there. It's quite simple, you saw. I would highly, highly recommend using the to-do and using the portal.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So I guess we'll stop over here, but there are many questions. Again, we want to respect your time. So we will make sure we will send response as in we'll give the answers to your questions through email. And again, thank you so much for attending today's webinar. I hope it was helpful for the team. I hope you're all staying healthy and safe and indoors still. Again, we would have, webinars coming up following weeks. Please do join. And if you have any questions about today's webinar, please feel free to email to csm@INSZoom.com. Thank you and have a great day.
Thanks,
Take care,
everyone.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.